So Bitcoin seems to have found some kind of stability, and that is after what was the most brutal day on the Bitcoin market since the 10th of May this year. So the most brutal day in about 4 months. And the cause of this dump was exactly the same as the May dump, and that is leveraged hands got liquidated. But was it just leverage? I don't think so. In fact, I've got evidence to show you that this was not leverage. Actually, it was the biggest market manipulation you've ever seen. Not only do I have the story, but I actually have the suspects as well. So I can show you who manipulated the market. I can show you why they manipulated the market. Very basic, very basic. And then I'm also going to show you where the market is going and what you should be buying. And then we also have Rudo on. You know Rudo. So Rudo is on today, and he's going to be telling us where he thinks Bitcoin's going to go. I bet you that Rudo is saying Bitcoin's going down to 35, and he's wrong. I'm going to show you that he's wrong on my charts. So it's going to be a big show. Oh, I've got some gems, massive gems to buy, stuff that I'm buying. Yeah, I'm going to show you that. Someone says market is down. It's stable. 46 is stable. So it's going to be a massive show. Huge show. Sheldon, Rudo, me, calls, market manipulation, fun, money giveaways. Let's go. Let's get the show on the road.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch, go. Get up, and then they got go. Gotta wake up, bitch, get up. Get up, bitch, get up.
I saw him bouncing to the music, so I thought you'd have to see this. He's bouncing to the music.
Just fuck like that. Thanks, buddy. You're a star.
I thought you need to see what I was watching there. I was seeing the backstage, and Rudo is just bouncing on the ball, just bouncing. And then, I've also got Fred bouncing, just bouncing. Fred was just bouncing, but he stopped bouncing now, as you can see. Fred stopped bouncing. All right, so welcome back, guys. I'm Crypto Man Ran. I'm here 3 times a day. I've got this thing called prolonged COVID. Basically, I'm still not feeling 100%, but I'm here every single day, 3 times, bringing you crypto love and crypto wisdom. And together, we are building the best crypto community in the entire world. I've got to thank you guys for being here, smashing the like button, subscribing to our channel, spreading the love. The channel is absolutely exploding. We now have fan bases everywhere in the world. And that's amazing because we're going to do a world tour soon, and we're really going to come everywhere. And we appreciate you guys. We appreciate every single one of you guys. We hope that we're making a difference in your life through the good markets and through the bad markets. And that's what we're here to do. So if you're new to our channel, no matter where you are from in the world, welcome. Subscribe to our channel, like our content. That is how we get the content out there. I do see you all. I see Joao from Portugal. I see you guys. I see JP Roo. He says, how's it? He must be from South Africa. I see Paula Kanani. She's always here. She's translating our show into Spanish. You guys are amazing. Brad actually says detective run on the case. You'll see it was actually Detective Fred who cracked all of this. So let's just say, Fred, thank you, bro. Detective Fred, pleasure. Thank you. You did good. You did good. We've got Luba who says, from London, I see you. Young Yeti from New York City, baby. We see you. We see you. We see Neil Butterfield from the UK. I see Ellen Yer from Malaysia. We have fans all around the world. You're all part of our family. You make the show, not me. I just present the show. You make the show. I make the haircuts. I made Sheldon's haircut. I started. You see what I did? You see what I did there? You see what I did? I'm still working on it. We'll televise the rest later. Amazing. You guys must be awake lit. Croatia. Love you guys. India, we have an India Telegram group. Curacao, where that is. That sounds very far away. All right, so let's get the show on the road. Sheldino, quickly, market update. Where are we on Bitcoin? Oh, I see you looking at Solana. Too late.
I know. You know, that's gonna annoy me, right? We still have to have some sort of consequence if it does happen. I'm willing to get the fresh cut, no problem. But not tequilas. I think you got to grow a mustache for a month or something like cool. I don't know. We got to think of something cool.
We can talk about it. Let's get into the charts.
Okay, what do we need?
Anything happening on the charts? Is there anything going on with Bitcoin, or is it just stable?
It's still good for now. Bitcoin holding 46. I think when Rudo's on the line later, we'll have a nice chat around Bitcoin and where we see it going. But for now, markets are good. Everything. So it should be quiet now for the next day or two. Definitely.
Okay, amazing. We'll see you in a bit. We're going to get Rudo on. We're going to talk about the charts. Alrighty. There's also going to be a shopping list at the end of the show. It's not the same shopping list as we always give you. It's new gems. There's a good reason why I want to give you these new gems. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That's going to happen at the end of the show. Let's get the show going on the road. So we had yesterday, this big red candle where people got absolutely obliterated and absolutely liquidated yesterday. We saw that. Very, very, very similar to something else that we've seen before. And that is, if you look at this chart over here, let me go into a day chart. So you can see the red candle that we had over here, which took us all the way from 53,000 all the way down to 42,500. Very, very, very similar to this candle over here in May, or this candle over here in May, where you went from 43,000 all the way down to 30,000, and then we bounced back up. And if you remember, in May, what happened was we shook out the leveraged hands in the market. The market was really, really, really unhealthy because everyone thought that they could come into crypto, specifically retail investors. They could make money, like really easy money, and crypto could only go up. It was an overheated market, and so people took leverage into the overheated market. We get into these overheated markets when people have too much confidence. So when people are too greedy and they have too much confidence in the markets, and markets can only go one way, which is up, that is what happens. They take leverage. They say, okay, well, the market can only go up. I'm going to leverage my positions because I'm making these life-changing returns. And everyone becomes a genius. And I tweeted, I think on Sunday, where I said, we're getting to that point in the market where everyone's a genius. And that for me is a big telltale sign that the market needs a cool down. And the question is whether this cool down was just unleveraging the leveraged hands or whether there was some kind of market manipulation. And I think you know that the answer is obvious. This was not all about leverage. Yes, we got into leverage, but ultimately it was around massive market manipulation. And specifically, it happened too quickly. So it only happened really on Bitcoin. If you look at what happened yesterday, you look at the leverage people, let's just try and get to this chart. There we go. Okay, let's zoom out. Okay, so you can see that the leverage, which is the blue line over here, there we go, you can see it over there. The leverage hands got absolutely destroyed, and we kind of reduced the leverage back to an acceptable point. Sorry, let me try and get this a little bit better for you guys. Let me reload this page, I think it's better. So you can see all the leverage. You can see where we were in May. That is the leverage in May. That is the leverage where we are today. And then if you look at what we did to the leverage is now back at normal. We had this like big correction in the leverage, and the leverage is now back to normal situations. But let's look at how this all happened. And then we've got to ask ourselves some very tough questions. Ask yourselves some very tough questions. Did you sell anything yesterday? Did you sell or did you buy? Be honest. Because if you sold, then you don't know what you're doing. And you really got to pay closer attention. If you bought yesterday, well done. You did good. I hope you bought the right things. But if you sold anything yesterday, you got to ask yourself some really tough questions. And we'll talk about those tough questions later on in the show. So the correction from May and the correction from this week look very, very, very similar. We smashed out the leverage hands, right? You can see we smashed out the leverage hands, and the leverage is now actually at a much healthier point in the market. And you can see that because when you look at the fear and greed index, here's the fear and greed index. The fear and greed index was at extreme greed. It was at 79, and it's now back to neutral in 1 day. So we're in a position now where we are in a much healthier market structure because the extreme greed is gone and the leverage is gone. But let's ask ourselves a quick question. How did the leverage get there in the first place? Well, the leverage got there 1 week before yesterday. So I'm going to show you this on the charts, and I'm going to show you what happened. Let's go to the daily chart, and let's go to 1 week before. So 1 week before yesterday was the 7th of September. So let's go to the 1st of September, the 31st of August. And what you can see is that on the 31st of August, Bitcoin was trading at 46,161. Surprise. It's exactly where Bitcoin is trading 1 week later. So we've gone back to where we were just 1 week ago. In the 7 days where Bitcoin, before El Salvador launches their Bitcoin as a legal tender, the market goes up from 46.1 to a peak of 53,000 in 7 days. It's quite a coincidence, right? Well, not really, because you can see that in those same 7 days, from here to here, the leverage increased exponentially. So what happened? I'll tell you exactly what happened. When the market runs very quickly, people believe that they can only make money, and they start getting FOMO. And that's exactly what happened. This market was manipulated so that the price of Bitcoin could go up, and so that the price of Bitcoin could go up in such a way that the retail hands thought, it's time for me to FOMO in. And then they FOMOed in. It's not people from this channel. I know that people from this channel didn't take leverage and didn't buy into the FOMO because we told you not to. You guys are the other guys. We know that. But there are other people, the ones that listen to the other people, the other YouTubers, and they took leverage, right? And you can see that in the 7 days, the leverage was cool. The leverage was fine. Look at the leverage ratio over here. The leverage was perfect. It was low. It was reasonable. And in 7 days, the leverage shot up. That's what happened. And then yesterday, if you look at the correction yesterday, the main correction happened on Bitcoin. And you can see that because if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, look at where the dominance is. The Bitcoin dominance is under 42%. That is the Bitcoin dominance chart. So whereas this looks like an exact replica of May, where we just flashed out the leverage, let me show you that this is not an exact replica of May. And how I'm going to do that is I'm actually going to take you to May. Let's go to May. Okay, so January, February, March, April, May. Look what happened in May to the leverage, to the Bitcoin dominance. When the market crashed in May, the Bitcoin dominance in 1 day shot up from 39.68% to a high of 46%. That means that in May, crypto people were absolutely nervous. In May, crypto people believed that the market was too hot. And so the minute that there was one shake off in the market, the Bitcoin dominance went from 39.63 to all the way up to 46, and 3 or 4 days later, even up to nearly 50%. Today, when you look at the Bitcoin dominance has moved by 0.16%. It is still under 42%, which shows you that the crypto hands are actually not scared. There was a price correction, but no one is scared. We flashed the leverage out the market and we flashed the greed out the market, but no one is scared. That's the difference between May and now. That's why the market isn't collapsing further, because right now, as it stands, true to today, maybe tomorrow something will be different. But right now, the crypto market is not nervous. This is just a healthy little correction. People are not panicking, and you can see that in the price. Let me show you what our friends Willy Woo and everybody else say about this. So Willy Woo says, leverage markets sold off, but investor buying just got stronger. BTC flash crashes are caused by deleveraging. The COVID crash was similar in that derivatives overreacted, but back then it was supported by investors. This one was completely divergent. What he is saying here, he is saying that even though this was a deleveraging, investors just carried on buying. And the genius, Will Clemente, said, yesterday was driven by leveraged derivatives, not underlying investor activity. Broad supply dynamics only strengthened. While the price was going down, exchange balances, Bitcoin were being taken off exchange balances. Long-term investors added 10,000 Bitcoin to their long-term bags. That's what Will Clemente says. So you got to ask yourself a question. Where were you yesterday? Were you of the leveraged chicken shits hands who just dumped your Bitcoin? Or were you part of the smart investors? I know what the answer is. If you sold anything yesterday, then your license to trade crypto should be revoked. Your license to trade crypto should be revoked. If you bought yesterday, then you need to get a gold star and put the gold star on your forehead and walk around with it so everybody knows that yesterday you were a genius. Yesterday was for buying. Today is for doing nothing. In fact, today is we're going to look at stuff to be buying. So, yeah, Fred says it's always time to buy because Fred's a degen. So this was not enough to scare off any real investors. In fact, I want to show you if I can find this. Here we go. Standard Chartered, you know Standard Chartered, big bank, trillions and trillions and trillions under management. So they write this newsletter. I want to show you a couple of things here. You'll actually laugh a little bit. So they say structurally, we value Ethereum at 26,000 to 35,000. But for ETH to get there, Bitcoin would need to trade at 175,000. They expect this to happen by the end of the year. So they write this whole amazing report. This is the part that I found really funny. They write this whole amazing report, okay? And then they've got like, look how many pages of disclosures and like disclaimers. Just look how many pages. That's why the banks can never compete here because they have to write so many disclaimers before they can actually circulate a report. So this is not the same as May. This is something completely different. In May, it was just a deleveraging because people were nervous in the crypto markets, but people aren't nervous. And again, I'm going to show you how I know people aren't nervous because you got to see this again. In May, we had one big green candle in the Bitcoin dominance. People were running away from altcoins into Bitcoin and saying, this market is about to crash. This market is overheated. And they ran away from Bitcoin. And this little correction is like insignificant. In fact, I mean, it's so insignificant. We went back to the dominance levels of like 3 days ago, 4 days ago. Okay, so people are not nervous. So let's actually look at what caused this manipulation. And you know what? The truth is, if you were, what's the word? If you were switched on, if you were smart, like Fred actually did all this research. Ragnar, don't be late again, bro. It's disrespectful that you're late for the class. Really disrespectful. Fred hates it. Fred hates it when you're late for class. Why, Sheldon, why do you jump on the stream, bro? I'm trying to put Fred in the corner here. I don't know why you jump on the stream.
I'm just bored. I'm just chilling, buddy.
I'm going to show you here. You're on the board in a second. All right. There will be another show. There will be another show either here or Microdose. If you're not subscribed to Microdose, subscribe. That will be the Sheldon haircut show. Now, let's look at what actually happened. Because if you were smart, you actually could have worked out what happened on the market. And I'll tell you why. The day before, so 1 week before, as I showed you, 1 week before, okay, 1 week before, the market goes mysteriously. You know, we'd been moving sideways for 2 weeks. 1 week before, all of a sudden we get green candle, green candle, green candle, green candle, red candle, green candle, green. That's not a red candle. That's an excuse for a red candle. It goes up mysteriously. The leverage goes up. And 1 day before El Salvador is supposed to make this legal currency, legal tender of a sovereign nation, the president Nayib Bukele says, incoming FUD, tons of it, stay focused. So he kind of warned us that this was going to happen, but we didn't actually listen. And that's because he knew that they're going to start manipulating the market. And he thought they were going to do it by circulating FUD. But they did it in another way, because yesterday there was no FUD in the market. There was no articles there was no articles saying the market is overheated, the regulators are coming for you. It was just a cascading of leverages. How do you do a cascading of leverages? What you do is you just start selling quickly and you start dropping the price. And the leveraged hands, the weak hands, they start to panic. And when they start to panic, they start selling. And that's what causes one of these ridiculous big red candles that goes all the way down to here and then quickly recovers before the end. And that's exactly what happened. So what happened? Let's go quickly to it. Let's quickly go here. One day before, he says, President Nayib Bukele says, incoming FUD, get ready for it. He's warning us it is incoming FUD, because yesterday was the day that El Salvador introduced Bitcoin as the first legal tender of a sovereign nation. What they mean is that it's a sovereign nation. It's a nation that has its own borders. It's a sovereign nation that has its own now legal tender, doesn't have sanctions against it, is part of the United Nations, has got no sanctions against it. There are massive implications to making something a legal tender. For one, all merchants have to accept it. Okay, so what happened yesterday was all merchants in El Salvador actually had to start accepting Bitcoin as money. So you saw tweets yesterday, tweets from people that said they walked into McDonald's in El Salvador to see if you could pay for my breakfast with Bitcoin, and you can. And you can see that you get a QR code, you can scan the QR code and you can pay for McDonald's and for everything in El Salvador. So what we've created with El Salvador is actually a proof of concept. It's a way for Starbucks, for Nike, for McDonald's, all to create systems for them to accept Bitcoin that they can roll out. So internally, in El Salvador, you're in a position where all these big foreign companies, McDonald's, American companies, by the way, McDonald's, Nike, Starbucks, blah, 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 all have to accept Bitcoin. So that's cool. That's the first thing that happens. But the second thing that happens is actually much more important. Countries settle debt between themselves. I owe you money, you owe me money. There is a law that says that countries can settle debt in their own tender. And now what El Salvador has done is it is forcing all its trading partners to have to accept Bitcoin. So theoretically, very soon, anyone who sells things to El Salvador must accept their currency, and their currency is Bitcoin. Chinese importers, Chinese exporters, other countries all have to accept Bitcoin. And they have to start learning to accept Bitcoin and to custody Bitcoin. That's the second thing that's happening. The third thing that's happening is much bigger, much bigger than that. And that is what I got over here. Here we go. So the World Bank now has to accept Bitcoin from El Salvador. Remember, El Salvador is very reliant on the World Bank. The World Bank has given El Salvador many loans. In fact, they even took one loan away in June when El Salvador went to the World Bank and said, can you help us? The World Bank says they refused to help El Salvador to implement Bitcoin, citing transparency shortcomings. Explain something to me. If in the blockchain, specifically Bitcoin, every single transaction is transparent on a ledger, unlike the traditional financial system, how can the World Bank say that they refuse to help El Salvador, citing transparency shortcomings? It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. So what I picked up in this Forbes article, it says Bitcoin must now be accepted by the World Bank according to a charter. And that is because the charter says that the bank, the World Bank, shall accept from any member, which El Salvador is a member, in any place or part, in any place of any part of the member's currency. So notes, similar obligations issued by the government of the member depository designated by such member. What they're saying is, for any transaction with the World Bank, the World Bank shall accept from any member in place of any part of the member's currency. The member's currency is now Bitcoin. So the World Bank is now forced to accept Bitcoin from El Salvador. So this is where the whole manipulation part comes in, because a lot of people want to see El Salvador fail. The IMF wants El Salvador to fail because they're not ready to give up their power. The World Bank, which holds all these big nations, all these small nations, they grab them by the balls and they say, look, we will give you loans. Where does the money from the loans come from? From the members that are funding the IMF and the World Bank. Where does the World Bank get its money? The World Bank gets its money from the richer nations, and they give it to the World Bank, and then the World Bank gives it to the smaller nations. That's how it works. So the World Bank said to El Salvador, we don't like what you're doing. We're not going to help you. We're not going to help you because we're not going to help you because we don't want to be forced to accept Bitcoin. So there are a lot of people that want El Salvador to fail. And yesterday was their day. Yesterday was the day where the IMF, the World Bank, the US government, the EU, the opposition parties, okay, that's the day when they all had their day. And they said, you know what? We will pump Bitcoin up to 53,500 because it's very cheap to do that, especially in a good market. And then we will dump it, we'll break the leverage hands. And on the day where El Salvador launches Bitcoin as its legal tender of a foreign nation, on that day, we will fuck up the Bitcoin markets. And the reason why they wanted to do this was that so the people of El Salvador start to panic about this new currency of theirs and how unstable it is. And that's what yesterday was about. But the crypto community turned around and said, well, you know, you can do what you want, but fuck you, because we're not scared. If we were scared, we would take our money out of the altcoins and we would put the money into Bitcoin. But we didn't do that. We just kept our money in alts. And in fact, as of today, as you can see, we started to put more money back into alts. So they can try and fight with us, they can try and manipulate us, but we've actually got diamond hands because we can see what's happening in this industry. We can see NFTs, we can see Bitcoin growing as a store of value. We're not going to get shaken by one day. We're not going to do that. Crazy. What did the president of El Salvador do? Smart man. Just carried on buying the dip. That's what he did. He just carried on buying the dip. He added another 200 coins. I think actually if you go back, let's quickly check. I think he said he added more coins too. Yeah, he said, it appears the discount is ending. Thanks for the dip, IMF. We saved millions in printed paper and we now hold 550 Bitcoin. I think you can say that's the most that any nation holds right now that has declared it. So that is what happened yesterday. It was all manipulation. Okay, you don't believe me it was manipulation. How is it that Coinbase, KuCoin, Binance, what are the other ones? KuCoin, Binance, Coinbase, all went down yesterday at the same time when the markets were going down. In 2017, I would say to you, okay, that's acceptable because the systems were broken in 2017. The volume was huge. But yesterday, come on, guys. KuCoin was down. I tried to do a withdrawal from Binance, and what they said is, oh, your withdrawal is going to be is in for review and is going to take 12 hours. I was like, what? I want to buy Solana gems, which are not listed on Binance, in this dip, and you guys destroyed my opportunity to do that. And that they did. I wanted to get money out of Binance. I tried to get the money out of Binance. They sent me that stupid error message. It took like 5 hours for my money to get out of Binance. So, but you need to look deeper into that. And I explained to you why you need to look deeper into that. Who went down yesterday? Binance went down. KuCoin was down. Coinbase was down. We're going to talk about Coinbase in a second. FTX was up. You can't bet against in FTX. I told you this. FTX is the new Binance. You got to follow Sam Bankman-Fried. He got Mr. Wonderful on his thing. Today he signed Steph Curry. Steph Curry, NBA star, comes in to advise or comes on to FTX. You can't bet against FTX. You just simply cannot bet against FTX. So FTX didn't go down. That's why I keep saying to you guys, you buy FTX token. Yesterday, price dips, you buy more FTX token. Let me tell you some more exchanges that never went down yesterday. Was Uniswap down yesterday? No. Did SushiSwap go down yesterday? No. Did Radium swap on Solana go down yesterday? No. Did QuickSwap go down yesterday? No. Did DeFi go down yesterday? Did Rune Thorchain Protocol, did that go down yesterday? No. You see what's happening here? They're making us stronger. Because the more they try and regulate us, the more they try and regulate the exchanges, the more we just take our money off the exchanges. Like what I did, I took my money off Binance. I'll never put it back on there because I love CZ and I love Binance. But the regulators are destroying it. And they can't switch off the decentralized exchanges unless they switch off the internet. And so what they're doing is making us rely more on the decentralized exchanges. They didn't go down yesterday, not even for a second. So for me, they're making us stronger. They're making us stronger. I want to show you, talking about centralized exchanges. Gary Gensler, or no, let's talk about Brian Armstrong. Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, he says, some really sketchy behavior coming out of the SEC. Story time. Millions of crypto holders have been earning yield on their assets in the last few years. It makes sense. If you want to lend out your funds, you can earn a return. Everyone seems happy. A bunch of great companies in crypto have been offering their versions of this. Celsius, BlockFi, Voyager. Coinbase came out recently and said we would be launching our own version. We were planning to go live in a few weeks, so we reached out to the SEC to give them a heads up and a briefing. They responded, get this, by telling us this lending feature is a security. How is lending a security? Okay, seems strange. How can lending be a security? So we asked the SEC to help us understand and share their view. We always make an effort to work proactively with regulators and keep an open mind. They refuse to tell us why they think it's a security, and instead subpoena a bunch of records from us, we comply, demand testimony from our employees, we comply, and then tell us they will be suing us if we proceed to launch with a zero explanation as to why this is a security. Look, we're committed to following the law. Sometimes the law is unclear, so if the SEC wants to publish guidance, we're also happy to follow. It's nice if you actually enforce it evenly across the industry, by the way. But in this case, they're refusing to offer any opinion in writing to the industry as to what should be allowed and why, and instead are engaging in intimidating tactics behind closed doors. Whatever their theory is, it feels like a land grab versus other regulators. Meanwhile, plenty of other crypto companies have been offering lending features, and Coinbase is not allowed to. Gensler, in his confirmation hearings, said it's important for the SEC to provide guidance and clarity. Gensler said sometimes that clarity will be a thumbs up, but even if it's thumbs down, it's important to provide that clarity, 2nd of March, 2021. If you don't want this activity, then simply publish your position in writing and enforce it across the industry. Ostensibly, the SEC's global goal is to protect investors and create fair markets. So why are they protecting, so who are they protecting and where is the harm? People seem pretty happy to earn yield on these various products because you can't get yield anywhere in a fucking bank, okay? You can get zero yield in a bank and 10% on US dollars in crypto. Shutting these down would arguably be harming the consumer more than protecting them, and preventing Coinbase from launching the same thing that other companies already have live. They're recreating an unfair market. In May, I traveled to DC to meet every regulator and government branch that I could. The SEC was the only one that would refuse to meet with Brian Armstrong, saying we're not meeting with crypto companies. This is right after we became the first crypto company to go public in the United States. Gensler had been confirmed just a month prior, So I brushed this off as the SEC is still getting on its feet, but now I'm not so sure. And what Brian Armstrong says, we've always tried to be good actors in the space, leaning into sensible regulation, even when it is difficult or expensive. We try to think about what products we would want for ourselves and what the risk would be and before launching the products. And we will keep following this approach. And he goes on and on and on, and he says, if we end up in court, we may finally get regulatory clarity with the SEC, but regulation by litigation should be a last resort for the SEC, not the first. And Mark Cuban then jumps in and he says, Brian, this is regulation via litigation. They aren't capable of working through this themselves and are afraid of making mistakes. They will leave it to the lawyers and the judge, just the people you don't want impacting the new technologies. You have to go and fight against them. You have to go on the offensive. The SEC, we thought Gary Gensler was going to be good to the SEC, but he's actually not so good to the SEC, not so good for crypto, because he is coming out trying to get the SEC to be able to regulate more, because the more they regulate, the more ambit they have, the more budget they get. And so what's happening here is Gary Gensler is now threatening that crypto lending is a security. Why? Who is he protecting? Is he protecting investors, or is he protecting the banks? The same banks who realize that they give you 0 interest on your money, and then you've got crypto, which gives you 10% on your money because it's a free and fair market, and you don't get the centralized banks. If you can lend your crypto out at 10%, why can't you lend your US dollars out at 10%? You can, but there's this fat bank sitting in the middle taking all the margin. So who is Gary Gensler protecting? By not laying down why lending would become a security, they're protecting the banks. That is what's going on here. I mean, get this, yesterday, you know this whole story with XRP and the SEC, or Ripple and the SEC. So Ripple asked the SEC for a list of all employees who were trading, so that they could see if employees were trading XRP. Because if something is a security, employees of the SEC are not allowed to trade it. That's the rule in the United States. So if you work for the SEC, you can't trade securities because you work for the SEC. So Ripple, their lawyers, in a stroke of genius, what did Ripple do? Their lawyers said, we want the records of all your employees to see if they were trading XRP. And if they were trading XRP, that means that they didn't know that it was not allowed. And if they didn't know it wasn't allowed, then obviously XRP was not a security. So Ripple refused to give the SEC these documents. And they said, the reason why we refuse is because you're invading the privacy of our employees. So the Ripple lawyers were genius. Absolutely, absolutely genius. I want to show you this. First, the SEC claimed that the motion constitutes an intrusion of privacy for SEC employees, ignores that the defendants do not seek particularized information, but they want aggregate, completely anonymized information. So the Ripple's lawyers are going, look, we don't actually want the SEC employee records. We just want the aggregate. Just tell us on aggregate, did anybody trade XRP, yes or no? We're not asking you for the name and the phone number of the person who traded. Okay. And it goes on, and they wrote this amazing, amazing letter basically showing that the SEC, no one inside the SEC knew that XRP could have been a security. And therefore XRP couldn't have been a security. So Ripple's lawyers also helping us absolutely fuck up the SEC. And you know what upsets me the most is Gary Gensler. We thought he was going to be good. And when he was at MIT, just listen to this part when he was actually at MIT.
The world of crypto finance, you've seen this slide before, but it's been quite volatile. About 220 billion in the last few days. And a little over 50%, 54% is Bitcoin and the other big currencies right now on market value, Ethereum, Ripple, and the like. We'll talk a lot about initial coin offerings and are they securities, are they not? But I would note in terms of market value probably 3/4 of this space has already been determined by the Securities and Exchange Commission not to be a security. Bitcoin's 54%. Ether's about, I don't know, 15 points or something like that. So you're all of a sudden up to about 70 points, and then there's a bunch of other things that add up. So about 3/4 of the market value right now is what one might call a cash or a commodity, but not a security in this world. And that's just relevant for some of the debates that go.
So when he was working at MIT and not at the SEC, he said, look, well, 3/4 of the space is commodities and currencies, and therefore the SEC can't touch it. But when he came into the SEC, what he's basically doing is he's saying, I'm jumping in and I want to regulate these guys and XRP and garbage. He's fighting for the banks. Why can we not lend? Since when is lending a security? They won't even tell Brian Armstrong. Anyway, I have tried to get Gary Gensler to the show. Obviously, I got a big fuck you. That's my rant over for today. I want to thank Gary Gensler. I want to thank the IMF. I don't know who the other lady is, but I want to thank her. Okay, I want to thank the IMF CEO. I want to thank the fat guy on the left. I don't know who he is. He's the guy from the Boyce. He's the Boyce of Boyce, right? Bank of International Settlements, Boyce, and he's the boss of Boyce.
He's the final boss.
He's the final boss of Boyce. So I want to thank all of you. The IMF, I want to thank you. The World Bank, I want to thank you. The fat guy on the left, I want to thank you. The guy in the middle who's going to have a Sheldon hairstyle, or Sheldon's going to have his hairstyle very soon, I want to thank you. I want to give you all a very special thank you, because there were a lot of tokens that I want to buy, and they were getting very expensive. So what I want to do is I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the Banter community for causing this correction, because there are a whole lot of tokens that we want to buy. And I'm actually going to show you a list of tokens that I want to buy, but not yet. First, I want to get Rudo and see where he thinks the market's going. I bet he's going to say the market's going down, and then I'm going to bring Sheldon on, and Sheldon's going to take a bet with him, and they're going to bet that the winner shaves the other guy only one eyebrow off. So we take the machine, we shave one eyebrow off. That's it. So let's get Rudo on. I bet you. Rudo.
How's it, buddy? How's it, Barber Man? Sheldino. What's up, buddy?
I'm busy moving the new.
You're busy doing the grooming. Okay, cool.
Yeah, you see, I only shaved half, but we're going to do the rest live after the show. So subscribe to Microdose. Yeah,
Awesome.
okay.
Rocking a blocky.
Rudo, we are very short on time today. I want you to show us.
It seems that way.
Oh my God.
What?
I love drawing pictures, so let's simplify it and get a clean chart. There it goes, nice and clean.
Okay.
Why? What? Where do you want me to go to, Ran?
64,840.
Okay, we can get there. But we need a little bit of a correction. Should I maybe quickly explain why?
Explain to us why.
Okay, cool. So when we looked at this way back, and you had your climatic events, remember those beautiful climatic events on screen? I said to you, we need to break this demand or the supply that actually created this whole move. And my comments at that stage was, simply put, if we break above it, I'm looking at it as a sign of strength. We break below it and start going down, I'm looking at it as a sign of weakness. So I'm bullish. We can delete this. I'm really happy the market's strong. But in order for that to happen, we need to now just suss out some more of the weak hands. You know this, the bus is full, the price can't move. So the easiest way for you guys to have a look at sussing out and getting out the weak hands is by using this VPR tool on TradingView. So you can just go over there, look at the volumes, visible range. And what it basically shows, just shows you where's all the buying happening by means of bars to the right-hand side. Now, when we look at this Bitcoin and where we ended up into this range, we can look that there was a lot of buying in this range over here. But when we start diving into this to see actually when was the buying, you can see that a lot of that buying was before the low end, before we started this nice pump to the upside. Now, how do we do that? Well, the volume gets calculated on what is visible on the chart. So if I move it to the side and we start just expanding, something went horribly wrong there, and we start expanding this, you can see that there's literally no volume in this pump on the way up. So the main thing is everybody aped in here. You beautifully said it. Everybody aped in here, and they needed to be punished.
The last week was the...
Yeah. Now, with that being said, Ran, if everybody aped in there and they need to be punished, where do you think the smart institutional investor, where do they need to protect and add to their position? Well, obviously, they didn't have enough buys in here because the demand that they created when they started buying moved price too quickly. So once that's momentum, then they step back and say, okay, right, we need to come and recycle that momentum. So we first now let the weak hands come and pay for the money that we spent, and then we take profit on them, and then we come and recycle. So smack in that imbalance area over there. That is where price should necessarily migrate towards, because that's where they're going to want to load more bags, get more money into the crypto.
36,000.
36,000 is where I'm looking at this correction going towards.
Do you
and
still, where do you see Bitcoin end of the year?
End of the year, sure. 80, 100, maybe 150.
Do you think if we go to 35, we still can get there? Because I think, we've just started building this momentum now. Like anywhere in those levels, we'll start to... I don't see the 80K Bitcoin if we go there. If we just ruined all the momentum we have made, I think it will need more time. I think that I don't know, it will need a lot more time.
Time is definitely something that we need, but what we know is when the market starts doing these squeezes, it tends to accelerate quite fast there. So let's have a look at just a little case study here, Sheldon. So when we looked at this area over here in 2017, we had a bearish engulfing structure and then a bullish reversal. You can see how it literally engulfed everything that was negative at that stage. Now, to the right-hand side over here, I've got that same bearish engulfing structure. We can argue over here, and there's a bullish, engulfing reversal of that. Now, they're not printed identical, but let's just point out where all the features are, so that people can catch on. There's the high point, there's the reversal. And for me over here, there's the confirmation and there's the strong reversal, because on both instances, there's the buy, okay? Now, when we look at and use a simple flip, I'm just taking it from the bottom to the top. We went and we come back to the 50% level. That's all that we're doing. We're literally just coming back to the 50% level because I need to recapture the liquidity. If I'm a big player and I'm spending money to get the price there, I can't then continue on spending money because then I'm actually just trading against myself. I need opposing hands to fall for my trick. So now I've spent the money. I have to wait for it to fall back down, and then I can spend some more. Think about it. If you look at this range over here, there we made a lower high. People were negative. Lower high, we're going down. Lower high again, we're going to go down. And look what it did. Short squeezed the hell out of everybody. And from that point onwards, they said, okay, right, let's push more money into the market. What do? Come back. I lost the screen there.
Right, let's get your screen back. There you go.
Okay, so short squeezes, they push more money into the market there. X marks the spot. And then they come and recycle that, add to their position. So that same basis, if we use that same argument, little simple mechanics, there's the 50%. So I'm looking at 41.5 as my basis zone, where price is going to go towards. But if I look at it, and remember, it's nice thing predicting. It's another thing we have to trade what the market gives us. And for me, this area coincided with a big imbalance that was left behind. But when I showed you the first chart, the imbalance is actually sitting below this level. So if you want to create that fear and shake people out of the bus, that would be the area where people would, and it will be quick, where people would go and say, we're going down, guys. And that's going to be the area, the same trick that they're going to play on everybody at that area. It's going to be grab a quick buy over here, and then we go. So, and that then establishes a relatively flat trend. And we need a slow trend. You just said it on your earlier show. If it's too steep and too fast, it's not really a good trend. And a trend line, in the end of the day, needs to be a moving average. So if we can come back down and establish a relative flat trend, a sustainable moving average, that's what this line is in the end of the day. It's just a moving average. If we can do that, then at least we secure our bull run. It doesn't mean that it's going to be
I don't think we should go lower than 40, though. I really don't think lower than 40, because that now starts to become, I don't know. I think 35, you know, now we're talking that it's 10% off the lows we've just made. So 40, I agree with. 41 as the low, I agree with that. 41, 42, definitely. I just don't think the bull run's going to continue if we go to 35. I don't think we're going to get to our 80K Bitcoin. You know, it's 3.5 months left of this year.
Yeah, so that's the thing, Sheldon. You know, do I want to put a haircut, a beautiful Barber Man Ran haircut on 35? I'm not sure. But, you know, you have to trade what the technicals show you. There's a target, 41.5, big imbalance. And there's another imbalance on 35.5. And we had a lot of resistance there. That still needs to come being tested. Maybe it never does that. You know, that's the thing. How many times have we looked at low targets and it just doesn't go there? So predictions all good and well, but at the end of the day, you have to trade what the market gives you. And at closer and more time, we'll have a better idea whether it's going to be this one or whether it's going to be that one. Okay, and, but for now,
to summarize, you are both expecting some more downside. Sheldon, you're saying the downside 41 and a half. Rudo, you saying 41, but if 41 gets broken, you're going all the way down to 35.
That's correct. But I would imagine before we start going to that 41, we trick everybody and start going back to 49-ish. Give them hope. Give them hope. I think we're going to try go up
first. We're going to try go up first, definitely. I don't see a lower low than what we made yesterday. And then we'll see. And right now, we're still above 200-day moving average. So my absolute bearish scenario is 41. Otherwise, for now, no. I definitely don't see 30s.
Okay, love you guys madly. Sheldon, you get ready for your haircut. That's happening. Guys, there's going to be a link.
I think I should get a Harley Davidson. What do you think of the new look?
I'm not finished. There's going to be a show. It's going to be dropped on my Twitter and Sheldon's Twitter. So follow me on Twitter. Follow Sheldon on Twitter at CryptoManRan, at Sheldon_sniper. All right, very quickly. Awesome. I promised you guys some calls. I want to show you guys what I'm looking at. And then because we're out of time, I'm going to follow up with you guys on my Twitter. So the tokens that I'm buying now, the market gave us a warning. The warning is, if you got scared or sold anything yesterday, you're holding the wrong tokens. It means you're not holding quality that you can trust. So if you felt nervous yesterday, or you feel nervous now, ask yourself why you're feeling nervous. Which tokens in your portfolio are you feeling nervous about long term? And get rid of those tokens. And buy yourself some good quality tokens. If you don't have these tokens over here, buy these tokens. These are good quality tokens. These can only go up in the long term. Good quality tokens. I am now saying to you guys that I'm looking at other tokens. The tokens that I'm looking at, and I'm going to talk to you about my entry prices only on my Twitter because we're running out of time. But I said to you guys that I'm underweight on the Solana ecosystem. I don't have enough Solana gems. Solana caught us by surprise. Yes, we got some Solana at 42 and 29, but we don't have enough of the ecosystems. And the ecosystem is actually very, 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 very cheap relative to Ethereum. I showed you that in a show the other day. So I made a shopping list of the ones that I'm looking at. You got Radium, which is the DEX. You've got Sunny Markets. You've got Mango Markets. You've got Saber. You've got Solanium. Those are my Solana projects that I'm looking at. Those are the Solana projects that I'm looking at to buy. But then I'm also looking to buy tokens like Render because I don't have enough Render in my portfolio. And then I'm looking to buy some of the Phantom ecosystem. So how do I know which one's in the Phantom ecosystem? As I showed you guys yesterday, remember, I'm going to teach you guys how to do this for yourself. You go to, let me share my screen quickly. Share my screen. Okay, so you go to DeFi Llama. I went to chain and I looked for the Phantom chain, and I look at things like Spooky Swap, which is Boo, which is the exchange on Phantom. It's up 58% in the last 7 days. So you go back to CoinGecko, and then you enter the token, which is Boo, which is Spooky Swap, and you look for a level that you would be comfortable buying Boo. And how you do that is you look at the chart for the last 90, well, go as much as you can, and try and see where it's come from. So you can see that it's come all the way from $4, and in the last week, it's gone from $4, from $8 to $25, and now it's back down at $21 or $19. So not cheap enough for us. That's not cheap enough for the Banter community. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch these Phantom gems and the Solana gems and render and a whole lot of other gems. In fact, I think I had a whole lot more. Hold on a second. I had a whole lot more. Spirit Swap. I think we said Spirit Swap as well, Freddie. So Spirit Swap is another one that I think we should get onto the shopping list. We're going slightly different now. We've moved away from the 10x gems, and we're now going that there's this whole Solana ecosystem that we want to be buying. So follow me on Twitter at CryptoManRun. I'm going to show you when I'm buying them, and I am buying them, and I'll show you the levels. We're also going to do Sheldon's haircut, so follow me on Twitter. We'll drop a link there for Sheldon's haircut, which we're going to do now. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Sheldon's show in the morning, my show a bit later in the day. I'll see you guys for Sheldon's haircut. I'll see you guys in a bit. Until then, trade well, my friends. Have fun. Make some money. Don't panic. And if you sold any tokens, ask yourself some really, really, really tough questions. As George would say, lively crowd. We're going to have a lively crowd.
Lively crowd.
Yeah, let's get Rudo.
Mr. Rudo, thank you for joining us, brother.
Yo, guys, awesome to be here. Been some time.
Yeah, you're
Good to have you back.
I'm gonna go buy Harley Davidson.
So price can just bounce. Sheldino, I want to see that. You must get a Malay while you've got your Harley. You need that bookie and a Malay.
I'm gonna get some earrings.